to the Crisis Report. It is April 8th, 2025. Today we're going to be talking about, well, as this one's called, Iran and cartels threatened, because that is what's going on. The cartels in Iran have been threatened, and here we are. So, China's Commerce Ministry has declared, actually we're gonna get started. I got a busy night tonight, and that's why we're going a little bit early. So I got to get this done and out of the way. And there's a good amount here. Good amount here. I can always tell by the little cursor thing on the right side. So we're gonna get started. If you can hit the like button, do the subscribe thing, darken out the bell, give us a little bit of love, all that kind of stuff, and we will get rolling on that. And really appreciate all the support from yesterday. Yeah, I had a little opening, 5 minutes or whatever. I was trying to get people into the door. The nighttime ones are working better in the morning, just nobody's up. And again, it's typical stuff that goes on. So we're going to get started here right now. Hit the buttons and stuff. You can find this on Substack, PrepperNow.substack.com, if you would like a transcript of all of this and go to the different links. And we appreciate you being here. Here we go. China's Commerce Ministry declared it will fight to the end if the U.S. continues with tariffs, pledging to take all necessary measures to protect its interests. Trump administration is thinking about using the U.S. military to launch drone strikes on drug cartels in Mexico. Had a video on PrepperNow about that earlier. Trump administration intends to impose fines of up to $998 per day on illegal immigrants under deportation orders who refuse to leave the United States, with plans to seize their property if the fines go unpaid. Trump would-be hitman Ryan Ruth coordinated with contacts in Ukraine to obtain a rocket launcher, supposedly, as part of his plan to take him out. Axios reporter on X, Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu, in a video distributed by his office, that a nuclear agreement with Iran would be acceptable to him only if it included the explosion of all of the Iran's nuclear facilities and the dismantling of all equipment under the American supervision and by American execution. He noted that if this does not happen and Iran drags out the talks, a military option could be used. U.S. stock market has begun to recover from yesterday's shock. Elon Musk made direct appeals to President Trump to reverse sweeping new tariffs, according to the Washington Post. South Korean military says it's fired warning shots after North Korean troops briefly crossed over into the border. Zelensky says that Ukraine has captured 2 Chinese nationals fighting for Russia. Poland on Tuesday insisted U.S. troops would remain on its territory after the United States announced it would reposition personnel from a key base near the Ukrainian border. Suppose we just got a new supporter on Buy Me a Coffee, which is not the norm. To that person, thank you very much. That is another way to support. Of course, you've got Subscribe Star Locals and all that. You've got what Gene W. does, and that is the membership here. And then, of course, there are all the other ways. But I appreciate that person for doing that. Thank you so much. And you can support through Substack as well. Multiple ways. I appreciate everything you're doing. Or we're just glad to have you here. Love you. Bye. Poland on Tuesday insisted U.S. troops would remain on its territory after the United States announced it would reposition personnel from key base near the Ukrainian border. It has been reported that the Taliban have transferred control, and this is big if true, of Bagram Air Base, United States. Reports cite visits by U.S. C-17 aircraft carrying military supplies and senior intelligence officials, including the deputy director of the CIA. However, these reports have not been officially confirmed, so hold on a grain of salt. String of allegations. Amu TV cited 3 authoritative sources, including a Taliban official from Kandahar, in reporting a meeting between Sirajuddin Haqqani and U.S. delegations during its trip to the UAE. Taliban recently withdrew from Bagram Air Base after receiving payments from the U.S. government. Shortly thereafter, a large number of U.S. C-17 aircraft, military vehicles arrived at the base, indicating a possible U.S. move to reassert control over Bagram. Trump has announced record-breaking $1 trillion Pentagon budget. $1 trillion, and nobody's seen anything like it. We have to build our military, and we're very cost-conscious, but the military is something that we have to build, and we have to be strong because you got a lot of people, bad forces out there right now. China vows to fight to the end over U.S. tariff threats. China pledged to fight to the end after President Trump threatened an additional 50% tariff on Chinese imports, potentially raising total U.S. duties to over 100%. U.S. threat is a mistake on top of a mistake, said Jenner. If the U.S. insists on going its own way, China will fight to the end. Beijing has already imposed a 34% retaliatory tariff and warned it will not yield to what it has called United States blackmail. Elon Musk has urged Trump to drop China tariffs. Tesla CEO Elon Musk personally urged President Trump to reverse new tariffs on Chinese imports, including a proposed 50% duty. Despite Musk's appeals, it confirmed by multiple sources, Trump has not backed down. Musk also voiced opposition publicly, sharing a video of Milton Friedman to promote free trade. Tariffs hurt U.S. businesses more than China, said Musk. Ally Joe Lonsdale, echoing concerns from other tech leaders. Standoff signals a rare shift between Trump and Musk, and a rare rift. A major backer who controlled nearly $290 million to GOP contributed, if I can read, $290 million to GOP campaigns in the last election. Netanyahu's visit to Washington ended abruptly and somewhat suspiciously. I don't know what's going on with my words tonight. I'm usually better than this. White House yielded no progress in negotiations or in lifting the tariffs imposed by Trump on Israel. Elon Musk says they want to kill me for exposing their fraud and hurt Tesla, for fighting government waste. Bad people do bad things. Gaza, no food, no fuel, no future. Humanitarian situation in Gaza has deteriorated rapidly due to ongoing conflict and Israel's blockade in place since March 2nd, 2025. As for food, all UN-supported bakeries have shut down. Markets also lack basic items like tomatoes, sugar, oil. Families survive on one meal a day, and charitable food distributions have ceased. World Food Program will soon run out of aid with only emergency biscuits left. Medicine, hospitals are rationing painkillers and antibiotics with supplies for pregnant women nearly gone. Over half of trauma hospitals are at or near capacity. Medical staff are forced to improvise with basic tools due to the lack of equipment. Even soap is scarce. Other essentials. Fuel shortages have crippled hospitals, bakeries, and water systems. Clean water access is limited, raising major public health risks. Response? Aid agencies are pleading for international pressure on Israel to allow critical supplies. Red Crescent continues emergency operations under extreme strain. Tokyo Stock Exchange closed up 6.02% today, rebounding after a sharp drop the day before. China's state planner said that it held a meeting with private domestic companies, including Trina Solar, ride-hailing company Didi, and Gore-Tex, to hear suggestions about how to deal with additional U.S. tariffs. Trump reportedly plans 4-mile military parade for 79th birthday. President Donald Trump is reportedly planning a military parade in Washington, D.C. on June 14th, which marks both his 79th birthday and the 250th anniversary of the United States Army, according to Washington City paper. Parade would run about 4 miles from Pentagon to the White House, though no formal request has yet been submitted to local authorities. Netanyahu's facial expressions after hearing Trump announce direct talks with Iran will begin. I guess they were pretty funny. Hackers have attacked Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala's social media on Tuesday, including by publishing a fake post that said troops had been attacked by the Russian army, CTK reported. Incident on X is being analyzed, the Newswire said, citing government spokeswoman Lucy Jasatkova. All fake posts disappeared after dozens of minutes, according to CTK. Germany has temporarily suspended the resettlement of UN refugees. DPA reported. Russia's Medvedev, current situation, rules out nuclear disarmament for decades. Expect more destructive weapons, new states to go nuclear, he says. Trump's administration is considering drone strikes against drug cartels in Mexico. Early discussions have explored targeting cartel leaders and logistics networks, potentially with Mexico's cooperation, according to NBC. American officials are considering a proposal to withdraw as many as 10,000 troops from Eastern Europe, NBC News has reported. U.S. is weighing a proposal to cut troop levels in Poland and Romania as Trump seeks a ceasefire deal with Putin. If adopted, the move could signal a U.S. pullback from Europe. Around 10 North Korean soldiers violated demarcation lines between two Koreas. South Korean military fired warning shots. North Korean soldiers returned north. Trump demands $350 billion EU energy deal to lift the tariffs. President Trump rejected the EU's offer to scrap car and industrial tariffs, insisting Brussels must commit to buying $350 billion in U.S. energy to avoid the new tariffs. We can knock off $350 billion in 1 week unless you just got to get in line. You got to pay the piper, you know what I mean? China may ban U.S. film imports as a countermeasure, threatening a major revenue stream for Hollywood. Oh my God, they will not have their hands on Snow White, and, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be awful. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? I mean, think of all the wonderful content Disney makes and that China could access. All the great subject matter that they have, women empowerment, men suck, all that kind of stuff, all the great stuff. I guess they'll just have to go without it. It's almost like they don't like it, or anyone for that matter. Taiwan's president, Lai Ching-te, says freedom of speech doesn't cover calls to eliminate Taiwan. Lai warned of growing threats from China, including disinformation, legal warfare, gray zone tactics. He noted that 64 Taiwanese were prosecuted for spying for China last year, 4 times more than in 2021. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi on nuclear talks in Oman on Saturday said talks with the U.S. will be indirect and will not accept any other negotiation format. We chose indirect negotiations to avoid threats and pressure from Washington. What matters is the effectiveness of talks, and we'll reach a deal, a real agreement if possible, if the other side is serious. Our main goal is lifting sanctions and easing our people's hardship. Spanish government has approved 2.08 billion euros in new defense spending. United States Treasury Secretary Bessent said China's escalation was a big mistake. Turkish President Erdogan says Israel will not achieve its goals in its attempt to redraw the map of the region. U.S. Army Europe and Africa Command announces a planned redeployment of U.S. military equipment and personnel from Jastrzębie, Poland, a key hub for assistance to Ukraine, to other deployment locations in the country. Jastrzębie, under the leadership of Poland and NATO countries, will continue to be used to provide military assistance to Ukraine. Tariff war. China signals likely next big moves against the U.S. Two pro-Beijing bloggers post matching lists. Suspend fentanyl cooperation, target red state farm goods, soy, sorghum, ban U.S. poultry imports, restrict U.S. services, finance law, ran Hollywood films, and probe U.S. firms' IP gains. Trump says China wants badly to make a deal, but they don't know how to get it started. We are waiting for a call from China. It will happen. Trump's tariffs are far worse than the 2008 crisis, even worse than Rona, accordingly. Renowned economist Timothy Ash slammed Trump's chaotic economic policy and warns of global fallout. It's amateurish, like a mafia mob leader running the world economy. Every economist agrees. Protectionism makes everyone poorer. The U.S. is less a meteor now, more of a bully. Europe should bring Turkey into its defense architecture. It's time. Is America pushing allies to China? Well, economist Timothy Ash doesn't mince words. He said the U.S. is coming across as a global bully. If I were European, I'd be looking to new alliances. I'd be looking actually to get closer to China. If you want to go hang out with China, go for it. I wouldn't want them on our team. Italian Prime Minister Meloni will head to the U.S. to directly negotiate the tariff relief from Mr. Trump, President Trump. U.S. Trade Representative says that President Trump does not intend to make any exceptions on tariffs and aims to eliminate the trade deficit. Netanyahu says that Turkey wants to establish military bases in Syria, and this poses a danger to Israel. We oppose it and are acting against it. I told President Trump, who is my friend and also a friend of Erdogan, if we need your help, we'll talk to you about it. Netanyahu says the dismantling of Iranian nuclear facilities must be carried out under American supervision and implementation. CIA is reviewing its authorities to use lethal forces against drug cartels. CIA is reviewing its authorities to see, or authorization, to use lethal force against drug cartels in Mexico and beyond as the Trump administration moves to make taking on the cartels a major priority for the intelligence agency, according to a U.S. official and 3 people briefed on the matter. President Volodymyr Zelensky says Tuesday that Ukraine's troops had captured 2 Chinese citizens fighting alongside Russian forces. What the what? Adding that Kiev would demand an explanation from Beijing and a reaction from its allies. That's an interesting development right there. Billionaires down. Of the world's 500 richest people, the only one who made money last week was Warren Buffett. The Oracle of Omaha, still bringing it home, and 90-some years old. President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Tshisekedi, announced the termination of all previously concluded contracts with the U.S. The DRC is known for their large quantities of rare earth minerals. Iranian foreign minister says any conflict would quickly spread across the region and cost trillions of American taxpayer dollars. United States Energy Secretary expects very severe sanctions on Iran. TSMC could face a penalty of $1 billion or more to settle a U.S. export control investigation over a chip it made that ended up inside a Huawei AI processor. Trump's fortune has already been reduced by about $500 million due to the reciprocal import tariffs he imposed, according to Forbes. When Trump announced his plan to impose massive tariffs, Forbes estimated his fortune at $4.7 billion. Less than a week later, it had gone down to $4.2 billion. UN Secretary General Guterres says Gaza has become a killing field with civilians trapped in an endless cycle of death. More than a month has passed without a single drop of aid reaching Gaza. No food, no fuel, no medicine, no commercial supplies. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in Washington said before his flight back to Israel that we agree that Iran will not have nuclear weapons. This can be done in an agreement, but if this agreement is a Libya-style agreement that we go in, we blow up the facilities, dismantle all the equipment under American supervision and American execution. That is good. Second option, that it will not happen. They will simply drag out the talks, and then the option is military. Everyone understands that. We discussed that at length. U.S. Army has announced that it will withdraw military personnel and equipment from the Polish city of Rzeszów, which since 2022 has become the main hub for aid to Ukraine, and relocate them to other parts of Poland. Now, let's say you join up for the SUBSTACK. You come over here, you click that. You see in the bottom left corner of the screen? That's right. It goes hyperlink to the article itself. And now you can read on your own. No help, no aid. You reading from the Substack. That's the beautiful thing about it. If you want to see where anything is, you go there and it tells you all about it. Takes you right to the link. Russian official says Moscow will not provide military assistance to Iran in case of a U.S. attack, according to Ynet. Macron says he hopes Trump reconsiders tariff decision. The IRS agreed to share information with ICE to help locate people for deportation, court records have shown, New York Times. New York Times report, Trump administration has denied the visas of at least 147 foreign students who participated in Palestinian protests at a long list of educational institutions across the country. USS Carl Vinson and its strike group are heading through the Indian Ocean towards CENTCOM, becoming the second U.S. carrier in the Middle East, putting nearly a quarter of the U.S. Navy's deployed power in the region. Iran will be negotiating under heavy pressure, according to open source intel. Trump is keeping his word. White House announced that additional tariffs of 50% will be imposed on China, and in total, tariffs on goods imported from China to the U.S. will be 104%. Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller says, I believe that China will be forced very soon to come to the table for the simple reason that China's economy is completely dependent on its exports to the United States and to the West. China is now discovering for the first time that they have met an American president who is not going to be intimidated, who's not going to be bullied, who's not going to be coerced, who's going to stand up for our essential security needs. Elbridge Colby has been confirmed, 5445, by the Senate to become the Undersecretary of Defense at the Pentagon. New, several high-ranking U.S. military officials have landed in Tel Aviv in the past few hours for important consultations. Canada says it will keep its tariffs in place until the U.S. removes its tariffs on the Canadian auto industry. U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, or the USCCB, has ended decades-long refugee resettlement partnerships with feds after receiving $2.9 billion in refugee funds under Mr. Biden. Pete Hegseth has announced that the United States will take the Panama Canal away from China. Threats. Stock market has started to crash again. It's all going on this afternoon. I think it ended up down. White House, nearly 70 countries have reached out to begin negotiations over our United States tariffs. White House says deals will be made if they benefit American workers and address trade deficits. And that does seem to be his goal, is to get, just get the trade deficits down. 57% of Americans oppose Trump's new tariffs. 73% of Americans expect a price surge for everyday items after Trump's tariffs go into effect. Germany's CDU, CSU, and SPD have reached an agreement on a coalition, according to NTV. Canada's retaliatory 25% tariffs on select U.S.-made vehicles will take place effective tomorrow. It is D-Day. USS Carl Vinson and her escort group are headed to the Middle East. Trump says that Germany went green, very green. They went so green, they almost went out of business. They went to wind, and the wind wasn't blowing too much. That's right. Now they have broken wind, and they have gone together. I wanted to reference this thing real quick, the CDU, CSU, SPD. If you'll notice, the group that is not in there is AfD, that is the alternative for Deutschland or Germany. That group is gaining in popularity wildly. And the reason why is because all three of these groups, they're going to come together. They're going to do the same old BS as usual and suck off Klaus. And then they're going to go back in and do the same crap. And they're going to get more people who are going to go over to AfD. You mark my words. And finally, Trump has claimed that the U.S. is collecting $2 billion a day from tariffs already. We shall see if that is true. All right, friends, I know this is an earlier one. I want to get out ahead and get this all done before I got going with a very busy night. I appreciate you being here. Please hit that like button, subscribe bell, darken it out, do the things. God bless you all. We appreciate you being here. You can become a member like Gene W. and others for a couple bucks a month to keep the support of the channel going. There's also Subscribe Star and Locals. There are other links in the description like X, Twitter, Minds, Truth, Gab. Or you can join us here on Substack, another way to do it. And of course, there's other ways to support. I would always appreciate it, but we're just glad to have you here. We appreciate you coming by, checking out the video, hitting the like button, subscribing if you're new here, and we hope to see you on the next one. Friends, thanks so much. Keep prepping. We're just getting started. It's coming.